Did Jesus really live a sinless life? This is a question you may start to ask, whether you're wanting to become a follower of Jesus or if you've had faith in him for a while. In my eyes, the answer is yes. And in this video, I'm going to first off prove biblically that Jesus did live a perfect and sinless life. And to do you one better, I'll also explain why that's important to our faith in Jesus, not just a Bible trivia question. I'll explain. All you have to do is sit back, relax, and let's go. I actually have 3 verses here that prove biblically that Jesus was actually a man who lived a sinless life. One was a letter of Paul to the Hebrews. One was actually a letter of Paul to the Corinthians, his second letter to the Corinthians, and one written by John. First off, Hebrews 4:15. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin. Based on the context of this verse, the verse before it and the verse after it, we can see that by high priest, Paul is talking about Jesus here. And literally, in those last 3 words, he says, yet without sin. This shows me that Jesus lived a sinless life. Those are in the words of Paul, someone who literally God wrote through. Next, 2 Corinthians 5:21. Here it says, for our sake, he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Yet again, Paul writes about how Jesus was sinless. He knew no sin is what it says. Not sin, what's that? But that he never committed sin. He says he or in him here, but really what he means is Jesus based on the understanding in the context of this verse. This verse is actually going to be pretty important when we talk about the importance of Jesus' sinlessness for our faith. But actually now let's finish off with 1 John 3:5. You know that he appeared in order to take away sins, and in him there was no sin. There it says right there, plain and simple, in him there was no sin. These 3 verses, one from John and 2 different ones from Peter, show that Jesus was completely sinless. But like I said, this isn't just a fun fact for Bible trivia, but it's actually something that's the bedrock of our faith. Let me explain why. We know that God is perfect and sinless. So if Jesus wasn't perfect and sinless, we would know that Jesus is not God. But because we can read that Jesus is sinless, we know that he is God in human form, God incarnate. So because of him being sinless, living a sinless life, that helps us to actually understand that Jesus is God in human form. And if Jesus wasn't God incarnate, then his death wouldn't be enough to pay for our sin. Like a lot of good people die, and that does not give us salvation for our sin. That does not reconcile us to God. But Jesus' death on the cross is what pays for our sin. There had to be some sort of payment. God couldn't have been like, let's act like this sin never happened. Because there had to be some sort of payment, and Jesus' death was the payment. If Jesus was not God, then his death would not really mean anything, just like any other good man who dies. But Jesus being God in human form makes his death significant, forgiving us of our sins and reconciling us to God. If Jesus wasn't sinless, we couldn't have the choice to have salvation in him and put faith in him. Instead, we would have no choice but to go to hell. But because of Jesus' death on the cross, because of his death on the cross as a perfect, sinless man, that is what gives us the choice, the option to choose faith in him. So if you ever doubt that Jesus was sinless, or doubt why that's even an important fact to know, there you go. These 3 verses that I've shown, and way many more in the Bible, they show that Jesus was a sinless man, lived a sinless life, God in human form. And that fact is important because without him being a perfect and sinless man, what had happened was we wouldn't know that Jesus is God incarnate. Actually, that would disprove that Jesus is God in human form. But Jesus' sinlessness shows us that Jesus is God in human form, and therefore his death is enough to pay for our sin. If you enjoyed this video or gained something from it, then instead of clicking a like button, share, follow, save, whatever, don't do that. Instead, pray to God in thankfulness for this video, that he put this video on your screen, and also that he spoke through me in this video. If you want to go the extra mile though, share the gospel with someone, just click the copy link or just share it to someone who you know would be helped by it. Someone you want to share the gospel to. And with that, peace out and God bless.